Welcome to the final installment of my 2021 year-end lists, where today we look at my 50 favorite albums of the year 2021. This has been a very up and down year for music, because the highs have been really high and we'll get to them, but the lows, oh god, the lows. I decided not to make a worst list this year purely because I want to keep this positive. But if you want to know my least favorite albums of the year, the two off my top of my head would be Culture 3 by Migos, overblown, way too much time, nothing interesting. My other choice would be Bobby Tarantino 3 by Logic, one of the most underwhelming albums I've ever heard, considering the heights that the Bobby Tarantino mixtapes could reach. But now those out of the way, let's move on to my 3 honorable mentions for this year, because I do have a few that I chose not to include on this list for a variety of reasons. Let's start with an EP. Now obviously an EP is not an album, which is why it's not here, but I have to shout out Jazmine Sullivan with Hotels, because this was a really good project. This is basically an album length EP, but it technically was an EP, so it's not gonna make this year-end list. But shout out to Jazmine Sullivan, great little project here. The next one is Scar Dream by Jeff Ross and Stott. I chose not to include this one because technically this is just a remix album of No Dream, but let it be known that I want a ska punk remix of everything, of every album that exists right now. Like, I want to hear a lot of these albums have a ska remix next year, because this was really good. And finally, a shout out to Parannoul, who I had a really hard choice between their 2 albums this year, but I chose to leave out To See the Next Part of the Dream, purely because I wanted to shout out Asian Glow and Sunhouse, but we'll get to that when it comes to them. From numbers 50 to 25, I'm going to keep my descriptions brief. Like I did on the songs list, a few sentences and that's about it. And then from number 25, you'll get a bit more in-depth. Starting with number 50, we have Bo Jackson by Boldy James and the Alchemist. Just a classic, just good rap project. I know people are going to have it higher, but personally I think this is exactly where I can see it going on my list. And after that, Weezer with OK Human. An underwhelming second half does not diminish how good of a first half this album has. One of my favorite first parts of a Weezer album possibly ever. At number 48, we have Mac Leaphart with Music City Joke, a great little indie country album that goes really well with the lyrics and the Americana themes of the album. At number 47, we have Mercurial World by Magdalena Bay, which I did not like as much as many other people did, but I can recognize that this is a really good, really consistent pop record, and I'm really going to be hyped, and I think this is setting up me being blown away by Magdalena Bay's music way more for the years to come. And after that, number 46, we have Triade I Eos-Aara. If you did not know, this is possibly the most terrifying black metal album I've ever heard. Give it a listen if you like that. And number 45, we have Between the Buried and Me with Colors 2, which is obviously a follow-up to their very legendary Colors 1 from 2006. And I found this a very, very good return to form from a band that really hasn't been blowing me away. And this one kind of reminded me why I like them in the first place. And number 44, we have Arab Strap with As Days Get Dark. This is a really weird project, and I love how weird it is. It did drop in quality for me throughout the entire year, but I can still recognize that this was so off the wall and it was so unique a listen that I couldn't leave it out. And number 43, we have Isaiah Rashad from TDE with The House is Burning. Yeah, when this album was good, it was some of the best music I heard this year. And really, this just sets me up for Isaiah Rashad blowing me away with his next project, which, considering how long this one took, is probably going to be like 2025, 2026. At number 42, we have the posthumous album of legendary vaporwave artist Lindsheaven Virtual Plaza with Imaginary Pathways. I did not check out his music before his death, but I really like this project. I really like the soundscapes of it. After that, at number 41, we have Young Heart by Birdie. Not many people were talking about this album, but this is probably because of my personal bias towards me really liking Birdy's old stuff. And me, this is just a really nice little folk album. I think you'd like it. Number 40, we have Jubilee by Japanese Breakfast. Just a really good, perfectly crafted pop record. Really, that's all you can ask for in today's music. At number 39, we have Mono with Pilgrimage of the Soul. I did not expect a lot going into this, and I was blown away with some standout tracks on this. You really need to give a listen to a few of these tracks, because Imperfect Things especially, I think that's a perfect track. You really go and give that a listen. But the Soul project was really good. After that, at number 38, we have Never the Right Time by Andy Stott. Again, just a really nice, really cool EDM project. There was just a little driving and a little ambient at stages, and I really liked it. After that, at number 37, we have Deep England by NYX and Gazelle Twin. A really weird ritual album that gives me very strong Lingua Ignota vibes. Don't worry, we'll get to her. But yeah, give this a listen if you like that project. At number 36, we have Spelling's The Turning Wheel. Was not as blown away as other people were with this project, but I can still recognize that this is one of the best pop records of the year. Number 35, we have Jesu with Emo Girl X Machina, which is Anime the album, and I couldn't be happier about it. This is some of the weirdest hyperpop and cloud rap mix I've ever heard, and I really loved it. After that, at number 34, we have Lil Ugly Mane's comeback, his return with the Volcanic Bird Enemy and the voice Concern. I got that out in the first try. Yeah, this was just, it's obviously very similar to the stuff he made as Bedwetter, but I really like this project from Travis Miller because it goes really deep into his psyche. After that, at number 33, we have another return album. This time, Godspeed, You Black Emperor returning to form on Godspeed It States End, which, considering how underwhelming their past few projects were, massive surprise on this one. Especially as a massive fan of the earlier projects, this one was really good. After that, at number 32, we have Roadrunner New Light, New Machine by Brockhampton. The embracement of features on this one was really cool. Like JPEG Mafia, Danny Brown, ASAP Rocky, ASAP Ferg. Yeah, and just Kevin Abstract and the gang just managed to do it. And apparently, if this is their final project, this would be a really nice path to end on, considering emotional tracks like The Light and bangers like Buzzcut. At number 31, we have Drunk Tank Pink by Shame. Just some perfectly crafted punk rock. Really, that's all you can ask for from Shame, because that's really what they do. But this one's more personal turn makes this my favorite Shame project. At number 30, we have Panopticon with And Again Into the Light, which is this really cool metal project, man. I couldn't exactly call it underrated because a lot of big people, including like Fantano, reviewed it and gave it a really positive score. But yeah, just if you haven't listened to this project, power to you, man. You need to listen to this because there are points on this where it really reminds you just how much is there in the metal scene. At number 29, here's where it is. We have Downfall of the Neon Youth by Parannoul, Sanastamam Konta, and Asian Glow. Just these three and their respective acts, they are the future of indie rock and emo music. And this reminds me why, because this was such a cool project to listen to. Especially standouts like Nails and Insomnia come straight to mind. Really good album. Number 28, we have Dave with We're All Alone in This Together. Just, wow. That second half is one of the best things I've heard this year. One of the best things I've heard in UK rap history. But it's here around this stage purely because of that first half not being as heavy as that second half. But if anything, listen to those final 4 tracks and your mind will be changed. At number 27, we have another UK rap project. We have Tyron by Slowthai. The first half is obviously standard Slowthai, just bangers with insane production and insanely, in just manic flows from obviously Tyron. But that second half is one of the most surprising things I heard this year. Slowthai turning his ridiculous lyricism into himself and turning that into such of a really introspective look on his life and the mistakes he's made along the way and how he wants to rectify them. Just a really good project from him. And At number 26, we have Nas with King's Disease 2. A massive improvement on the first one. And this one just reminds you why Nas is regarded as one of the greatest rappers of all time. We now move on to the top 25. We're halfway through the list. Starting with number 25 with Big Brave with Vital. Imagine a drone metal project, but like Bjork comes in and gives random vocals, and it is such a cool texture to add, especially with such an atmospheric singing and then the atmospheric metal. It works, and it really works into this massive crescendo that is really cool. Listen to this project. At number 24, we have Pupil Slicer with Mirrors. I'm a massive Dillinger Escape Plan fan, and I heard this project after I listened to the final album of Dillinger Escape Plan just out of nowhere. And this reminds me of the hole that I was missing, man, because this is brutal mathcore, like absolutely ballistic mathcore, and it's done so well with lyricism that is not expected from a metal project at all, and it's done so well. So all power to the entire band, and I'm really hoping to see what they come up with next, because I see them being massive stars in metal. At number 23, we have RXK Nephew delivering arguably the weirdest rap project of the year with Slitherman Activated. He obviously released a lot of really good projects this year. Too Tough Tony Tarantino was a close one. And also Make Drunk Cool Again was another one that I was thinking about. But in the end, I put this one purely because of how manic it is. It feels like a Chief Keef album. And I love it because of that, man. As a massive Chief Keef fan, there's nothing more I could ask from a record. And number 22, we have Nala Sinefro with Space 1.8. She is really like becoming the next Esmeralda Spalding in the fact that she probably is going to be the next big star in jazz. And I can see this project going massive distances for her. Just an 8-part sweep that is really cool and really reminiscent to an album we'll be talking about later. At number 21, we have the Illuminati Hotties with Let Me Do One More. Again, just punk rock leaning, indie, and obviously when you're going into a Sarah Tudson project, you're gonna expect like the really weird lyricism, the really funny lyricism, and you just get that, man. This is really good. And it's another indication into if you're not on the Illuminati Hotties train right now, you're probably never going to be, because this is a train that's leaving really quick when they're going towards popularity. Really cool project. And number 20, we have the Armed with Ultra Pop, which is a hardcore project. When you think of the words Ultra Pop, you don't think a hardcore project, especially when you look at this album cover. But this was one of the hardest projects I heard this year. And it was really cool to hear such an abrasive project from a band that I knew nothing about. And honestly, I want more. I want to listen to what else this project has. And at number 19, we have Kanye West's Donda, arguably the biggest event of the year. And this just reminds me that no matter what, like no matter how much I hate Kanye as a person, his music's always gonna be up there with my favorite of the year. And Donda just proves that. In the fact that, yes, are the low points low? Yeah, I do not like Television at all. I think it's like one of my least favorite songs of the year. But then we have the rest of the project, which is, my god, things like Life of the Party, which is obviously on the deluxe, but even if we're talking about the real project, Off the Grid, Hurricane, Jail, God Breathed, just a consistent run of amazing projects and amazing songs from Kanye. At number 18, we have Arm & Hammer and The Alchemist coming together on Haram, which is such a cool rap project, man. The Alchemist's production has always been some of my favorite things to listen to. And hearing like people like Billy Woods just going in, man. Billy Woods just knows how to rap. That guy is like, if I'm talking about a top 50 list, that guy is barely missing out, because he is amazingly consistent and amazingly consistent with his flows and his lyricism. Just a great project from both parties. And number 17, we have a project that did drop in quality, but I still love it a lot, and that's Infinite Granite by Deafheaven. I am a massive Deafheaven fan. I love things like Sunbather. And them going very deep into shoegaze should have been expected, man. But this is the next logical step from that project. And I love it for all the reasons that I love Sunbather. In the fact that this is just walls of sound. And perfect walls of sound. It's just great to hear things like this, man. And number 16, we have Floating Points, Pharoah Sanders, and the London Symphony Orchestra coming together on Promises. This was a really good... Again, this is probably the most talked about jazz album of the year, so if you haven't listened to it, you are probably missing out, man. What a sweep. Like, this went by really quick, but you could note every single detail building up and building up and building up, and it just ends in such a great place and a great crescendo that I'm actually not going to spoil it because I think you should really listen to it. At number 15, we have Turnstile's Glow On, a really good hardcore project, just some really good punk rock, man. Again, it's a band I didn't hear about before, and it's just hardcore punk done correct. That's literally it, and it's done simple, it's done cheap, and it's done really good. That's all you need to know about this. Listen to this album. At number 14, we have The Burbs with Not To Be Reproduced. Probably winning my surprise of the year. Cause, my lord, I did not expect me loving this project so much. I have so many tracks from this album just on repeat. Palmdale, obviously Transparency. And yeah, this is... wow. This is just wow. You would not expect this for coming from two very active ratio music users and them going so deep into the topics of the race relations in America and using that lyricism that is reserved for like people like Kevin Abstract and Kendrick Lamar, like that top tier of like mixing. And yeah, if you, again, this is probably the most underrated album you're gonna see this high. So this is my underrated album of the year, man. You need to listen to it. Next we have Umdu Mokhtar with Afrique Victime, which is a band from Niger, and it's a style of music that I haven't heard about before I heard this project. But I love this album. It is the grooviest thing I've heard this year. It is the most driving thing I've heard this year. I would genuinely lay my life down for that guitar tone that he keeps on using, because it's genuinely kind of perfect. There are not many guitar tones from this year that I'd put over this. And that is just enough reason. Obviously, I don't know the lyrics. I don't speak the language he does. But honestly, you don't need that because he just conveys such emotion that you don't really need to know the content to enjoy this album. And at number 12, we have St. Vincent's Comeback, Daddy's Home. I finally got around to listening to Mass Seduction and I didn't really like it. But then, God, this is an album that grew on me throughout the entire year. I think I remember giving this like a 7 or something, but that has like immediately skyrocketed, man. This was amazing. I love this project now. The 70s vibes, it feels like a Prince record, but it feels like such a personal turn for Annie to take with her music, and it is just so good. Genuinely just mind-blowingly good. After that, we have number 11. We have Backwash with I Lie Here Buried With My Rings and Dresses. Honestly, the only words I can use for this are, this is a fight I want to be at. Where is this fight? Because this is genuinely the most primal, most aggressive, most abrasive thing I've heard this year. And I've not stopped listening to it the moment I heard it. Because this is primal as hell, man. She just goes in. Like, she puts her entire heart and soul in this. I obviously didn't listen to God Has Nothing to Do With This. And obviously the collaboration with Black Dresses was really cool. Just genuinely a great project. And now we're into our top 10 for the year. At number 10, I have Black Midi with Cavalcade. Just a great project, man. Just flows into each other so well. And Black Midi's brand of progressive rock has always been so cool to me. I've loved Schlagenheim. I love their collaborations with Black Country New Road. Don't worry, they'll be here. But yeah, this was the one that really turned me, man. Because the soft moments on this project really surprised me. They really took this introspective turn on the really aggressive, basic progressive rock that they make and turned it into something that's more complete. And I really like that. At number 9, we have Sufjan Stevens and Angelo De Augustin with A Beginner's Mind. Honestly, Sufjan just manages to make really good music, man, with whatever he does, to be honest. And this was such a cool concept of them like, here, let's watch a movie and then let's make the song about it. And obviously it brings out standouts like You Give Death a Bad Name and of course Back to Oz. Both are really good tracks and this entire project just flows into each other really well. For what sounds like such a disjointed concept, it manages to make such a cohesive listen that it becomes surprising. At number 8, we have Black Country New Road with For the First Time. This project should not be individually picked out. I think, personally, if you pick out individual songs from this project, you're not listening to it right. Because this is a cohesive vision from a band that's, again, still in the rebuild phase, but my lord, instrumental, track X, Sunglasses, and of course Science Fair, which is a massive song for them. And I am just really high for Black Country New Road, man. They've got an album coming out in some time, and I'm going to be really hyped to hear that, because they are probably band of the year for me. At number 7, we have pick whatever edition you want. I'm personally going to go for the offline one, because we've got LP by JPEG Mafia. God, Peggy just manages to make just the most weirdest rap music ever. And it should not work. Yet it does every single time. Here, let me just pick out some of my favorite moments from this album. Hearing the chorus of Hit Me Baby One More Time by Britney Spears on this was really weird. Hearing the beat of Rebound and Dikembe and Hazard Duty Pay. And then, I'm a wrestling fan, by the way. Like, I'm a massive wrestling fan. So hearing Arn Anderson's Glock promo, like immediately starting end credits, and then going into an Animals as Leaders, where I'm also a prog metal fan. Yeah, it was just one of the coolest moments of the year, man. Peggy just manages to... He just manages to do it, doesn't he? Peggy's just great. And this project was just great. And at number 6, we have another project that grew on me massively. Like, it jumped up from what could have been like number 40 into the top 10. And that's Porter Robinson's Nurture. This is the most fun project I've heard, man. God, this was just a fun party. And sure, there are its down moments, but things like Look at the Sky and Musician, it's just a happy album, man. It's so good. I love this album. I love a lot of these albums, man. But this one may be my favorite album. Like, favorite in terms of the fact that in terms of the entire listen, I will immediately go back to this. This is probably going to rise going into the multiple years after this. Because I genuinely continue to love this album. And with every single listen, I love it even more. At number 5, we have a late entry into the list. Something that released in November, coming up this high, and that is Bruno Mars and Anderson .Paak as Silk Sonic with An Evening with Silk Sonic. My lord, I love this. Was great. This was just, what more can you ask from a project with Bruno Mars and Anderson .Paak, man? I love Anderson's getting his recognition. I love that. But Bruno's a star. Bruno's a star. Anderson's a star. Bootsy Collins, who's like announcing on the tracks, is probably a star. He's the biggest star. But then it just turns out into such a cohesive vision about soul music and throwback music that it's genuinely fun. It is such a fun project. But then you get stuff like Put On a Smile, which is mind-blowingly good. Like, it is amazingly good. It's perfect in points. And yeah, this album just continues to impress. Number 4, we have a listen that's going to be very hard for a lot of people. I understand that. But I have got Lingua Ignora's Sinna Be Ready, which was a really hard listen. I'll be honest with that. But my god, this is like an essential listen if you can get through it. This is exactly the kind of project, like, I liked Caligula. I'll be honest. Caligula, I was not the biggest, like, I didn't fawn over that project. I liked it, but I didn't love it. But this one made me realize, yeah, Christina Hayter's got it. She's got something that not many people have, and that is this command over noise and this command over lyrical themes that not many throughout history have. And that utilization and the balance between both of them being done so effectively, it like walks the perfect tightrope between gimmicky and emotional and scary, like the sort of 3-point conversion of all of them. It's just great music, man. And Christina, and she is just managing to one-up herself. I think this is a massive improvement on the last project. And honestly, she might be the one on this list who I think is the closest to a 10 out of 10 album. At number 3, we have the top 3. We have Injury Reserve with By the Time I Get to Phoenix. Man, rest in peace to Steppa. But this is exactly the farewell he would have wanted. Because, again, this is a weird project. There are points where nothing makes sense. Things like Superman that shouldn't make sense. It's a weird Black Country New Road sample, just warped so many times, and just Richie shouting, "Ain't no saving me." But it's done in such a way where it's so emotional and so moving that you can't really help yourself in thinking, man, this sucks. It really sucks that we lost someone like this, man. I didn't even discover Injury Reserve until like last year, in like just before Steppa's death. But even then, this has hit me so hard in the few months, so much so that I haven't gone back and listened to this project in full in a while. And that just shows just how perfect it was at creating the vibe it wanted to. At number 2, we have Tyler, the Creator, with Call Me If You Get Lost. Tyler's on a hot streak. Like, Tyler has cracked the code of a hot streak, and he is just continuing to ride that wave. There is no one right now in rap who has a stronger hot streak than Tyler, the Creator. From Flower Boy to Igor to then to this, which is probably his most rap-centric project out of all of those 3. But it still has its R&B moments. But then, man, Tyler just manages to walk lyricism. He just does it so well. Like, in the earlier parts of his career was so immature, but now it seems like he can write like 10 out of 10 verses, like right out of the top of his head. And then he brings on features like Lil Wayne on Hot Wind Blows, Young Boy on What's Your Name, Lil Uzi Vert on Juggernaut, and even like the faint background vocals from Frank on Lemonhead. It's just, man, Tyler just manages to walk that line of story. He also does storytelling so well now as well, with things like Sweet, I Thought You Wanted to Dance, which obviously continues his tradition of the 10th track being like this sort of cinematic opus, which it again manages to be. And it's just, man, the vibe this project creates was so engaging, and I continue to love this project. Which means I think most of you have guessed number 1, because it's probably going to be number 1 for a lot of people. It's the basic choice, I know, but sometimes the basic choice is the right choice. Because at number 1, we have Sometimes I Might Be Introvert by Lil Sims. Man, Simbi, First thing, let's start with her, man. Grey Area, amazing. Grey Area was amazing, one of the best UK rap projects ever. And how she's managed to one-up it is mad to me. It is madness how this project can be better. And it is better on so many different levels. The storytelling is better, the lyricism is better. Honestly, Lil Sims might be the best lyricist in the world, male or female. In the way she concocts her stories, in the way she says them, and she details these stories with some of the best, most on-point lyricism of all time. Like, genuinely heartbreaking. She's like the Lauryn Hill of UK, but I don't want to put her in that box because she can go really hard at points on this album, especially things like Rolling Stone, where I lost how hard that beat was, man, and how Lil Sims just goes in on the beat, man. And obviously the interludes as well. The interludes are somehow really good, and they create this whole vibe of the album that is unmistakable. This is the only project from this year where I can say this vibe was unmistakable. And in my opinion, this project is so close. It's so close to being perfect. And musical perfection is not something that happens quite often. And Lil Sims being this close is just volumes to the artist that she is. And that was the year end of 2021. I hope you guys enjoyed watching this. I've destroyed my voice because I've been speaking for 31 minutes straight. Yeah, that's not fun, is it? But yeah, I really enjoyed making this list, and I really enjoyed researching a few of these people as well. And I hope you join me next year for the exact same thing, because I just hope you guys enjoy the content, man. So until the next time, peace.